This is episode 33 of the Latter-day Saint Geeks podcast. I'm Spencer, and TJ and I are back for another discussion about Doctor Who.
Woohoo! More Doctor Who for everybody.
Always more Doctor Who.
So can't not have Doctor Who. Thankfully, I mean, we just had the Christmas special from 2024. Who knows when this is going to get heard by anybody? That was a couple weeks ago. So
yeah. And we have word of the new season coming out sometime this year, even though I don't believe we have any word on when this year, except that it's this year.
I don't think BBC or Disney Plus even know what they're doing.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
So, well, let's go with recommendations first, and then we'll get talking about the Third Doctor's companions. So,
sweet. I'll go ahead and go with my recommendation.
Go for it.
Okay. My recommendation is an 8-episode Netflix series called A Man on the Inside. It stars Ted Danson, and now I can't remember her name. Dang it, I hate that. I always remember. She played Mirabelle in Encanto, but she also is a little more famous for playing Rosa Diaz in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Her name is Stephanie Beatrice. So Beatrice, I don't know how to pronounce it properly. The two of them, both shows, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place, were both, which starred Ted Danson. They both had the same creator for them. There's a lot of similarities between the two when it comes to some of their humor in my mind. Man on the Inside was also done by the same creator and just as awesome in my opinion. It was a really good show, really worth watching, and really, really heartfelt show. So a really proper mix of comedy and tugging at heartstrings. So I really enjoyed it.
You said an 8-episode series. Is it just the first season, or is the series done?
So I should have said it was just the first season. It is a complete story, but they renewed it for a second season.
Okay.
Shortly after it, after I watched it, I think it was while I was watching it with my daughter. So it was an enjoyable show. It does have some language, unfortunately, but otherwise, very, very entertaining in my mind, and very worth watching for those who are fans of shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place.
But when you say language, like, is it comparable to like Friends and Big Bang Theory, or is it like Deadpool?
Oh, it's not Deadpool. No, it's rated TV-14.
With, like, Friends. Okay.
There's no F words, but there is one word that it pushes through a few times because it can, since it's rated
so maybe
TV-14.
a little more than Friends or Big Bang Theory, but not to the point of Deadpool or Rated R.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go with it that way.
So my recommendation is it's Pokemon, but as I was working on a Pokemon highlights binge list blog post, discovered that Netflix had removed the whole first series of Pokemon. Come to find out, in trying to, have the availability for these episodes that I was writing about for the blog, come to find out in doing that Pokemon has started moving their episodes, their whole series, to the first couple seasons so far is what's in the works, to a YouTube channel called Pokemon TV.
Nice.
There was previously an app that was just Pokemon TV that was shut down a year or two ago, so I was surprised to see this, but now it's the Pokemon TV is just a YouTube channel, and as of right now, it's like, I didn't check to see how far it's gotten so far, but the whole, like, first 50 to 75 episodes of Pokemon at least are on there, and if they're doing that much, then I would assume that they're going to keep going and going. So instead of me, looking in 5 different places for where 5 to 10 different series of Pokemon are being streamed, I suppose it would all eventually be on YouTube, which would be really nice.
That would be really
So,
nice.
free Pokemon.
Well, that's cool. So, well, where are you at with Doctor Who at this point? I'm
I
pretty sure
just
you're
finished
still
the
behind me.
Android Invasion, so I'm behind. What's that, like half a dozen stories behind where you are. Um, Finally
I'm trying to
leaving
remember what
behind
story I'm
Unit,
on.
but Sarah Jane's still around.
Yeah, that's still behind me a little bit. I finished Sarah Jane, um, and her Invasion. So you've got the brain. Okay, yeah, you've got a few. I am on the Talons of Wang Qiang.
I've heard that's a
Um,
really good one. Well, it's a really popular one, but I didn't love it during my last watch through. But I also watched it on a grave shift, so maybe if I watch it fully coherent, I'll enjoy it more this time.
yeah,
We'll see.
I've seen it before. I don't remember how I ended up seeing it before, but I have seen that one before. Because I know specifically what happens at the very end. Not like a big deal, but just something happens to Leela at the end of the episode story, and I do remember that specifically. But otherwise, yeah, I'm now well into 4, past Sarah Jane even. So, but of course, we're not talking about 4. We're talking about 3 today. So let's
Wibbly
rewind
wobbly.
or go back in our TARDIS to the Third Doctor and his companion.
So before we go
So
into he has 4 companions, really, counting the Brigadier, depending on how you count the Brigadier. But before we get into his companions, we're gonna briefly mention, and I have agreed to make this mention in passing, um, some notable unit personnel, because in the Third Doctor's time in the TARDIS, he spends it all working with and for unit. Um, we have 2 regular recurring unit personnel that he works with, and one that I'm going to mention that just tickles my funny bone. So we got Sergeant Benton, who's the most recurring character as far as the minor unit staff. He was introduced with the second Doctor, and he's a sporadic TARDIS companion with the third Doctor. Any brief things you want to
I
say
mean,
about Sergeant Benton?
does he go into the TARDIS? Does he ever go with them anywhere? He doesn't go with
I
Joe or Sarah Jane anywhere,
believe in the
or
Three
is it one time that
Doctors.
he does? Oh, in the Three Doctors, he does get to travel. That's right.
Yeah, at the
He
very
ends
least,
up.
in the Three Doctors, he's in there, which I suppose makes him a second Doctor companion, not a third Doctor companion. But there you go.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, he was originally introduced in I want to say the Siege of Death or the Invasion, whichever one that one was.
Yeah.
Invasion. The Invasion. I'm pretty sure he was introduced. Um, and so I mean, it's kind of a cool character to have been brought back. I like Benton. He was out of these characters that you're gonna talk about. He's my favorite. But he was also just like the muscle, like just extra muscle, and there were lots of times I kept wondering, oh, they killed him off, and nope, he just there's a man that was undefeatable in a way because he kept getting blown up, and oh no, I'm fine. So maybe he regenerated, we just didn't
Mm.
know it.
It's like he was just like along for the ride. Like he didn't understand what was
Yep,
going on with the Doctor. The Brigadier would be super skeptical about everything, and Benton's just like, "Yep, that's what the Doctor said."
I'm
Like,
just doing what I was told to do. He was a really good soldier that way.
yep. Unlike our next unit officer, Yates. Mike Yates was
Captain.
all over the
He was
place.
okay at
Like,
first.
yeah. But then he got manipulated, brainwashed a couple times, and it's like, wait, dude, what?
I don't even. He wasn't even brainwashed for one of them. That was his own choice, thinking, "Oh, this is a much better option." with Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I was really mad at him as a character. I was like, what did you seriously?
Yeah.
You're on the wrong side here, and you know you're on the wrong side. You're not on the Doctor's side. You know the Doctor well enough by now. You know you're on the wrong side. I was really, really displeased with the character. I felt like he was meant to be Joe's love interest. They have a little flirty moments in like the 8th and 9th seasons. And then that kind of fizzles out in the 10th season when she finally gets to travel with the Doctor. But he just, man, I was bugged by him in the end. And then is it not the Green Death? That's the other one. Planet of the Spiders. He still kind of redeems himself, but not any better. It's like, dude, you just are going from one bad group to another now.
I mean, at least in that one, he's like trying to redeem himself. Um, but at the same time, not really. Like, how'd you get involved with these guys in the first place, dude?
Yeah, I don't have any idea.
Um,
So
and then
well,
the
that went.
last, what I would say is just named unit personnel is that in one episode we had a soldier named Osgood, who it only appears in the Daemons, but there's a possibility that he's related to Petronella Osgood from the 11th and 12th Doctor era, and that's all I'm going to say about him. Just leave
Yep,
that
we're
for a
gonna move
little
on to
headcanon
the.
or theory, if you please, but that's all.
Yep. So now we're gonna go back to the normal companion
Well, sort
concept
of.
here. Well, I mean, with the third Doctor, he stuck. But I mean, we're gonna go with our normal ratings. I was gonna say. So we have the three ratings of yay, nay, and okay. Yay meaning we really would have liked if they stayed longer. Nay meaning oh, I'm glad you're gone, and okay being if they stuck around, it's fine. If they leave, that's fine too. Um,
They're positively
I do.
okay.
I honestly think that the third Doctor has some really good companions, though. In general,
Yeah, we'll get to
not
in a
my favorite
second, but I
Doctor,
think
but I
all
do
of
like his
mine
companions.
are. I think all of my ratings for the third Doctor's companions are yay, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yep.
Um,
So, but we're gonna start in order. But your order, I thought we would have started with Brigadier, not Liz. But we
well,
can
we
start
can.
with Liz because Brigadier goes over all three companions, so
Yeah,
his
the
story.
Brigadier is kind of a interesting Let's start with the Brigadier because he's kind of an odd
Mhm.
concept for a companion, anyways.
Yep.
Because he was introduced alongside the Second Doctor. He traveled with the Second Doctor on a couple of anniversary episodes, the Three Doctors and the Five Doctors. So
Yep.
he's definitely he could kind of counts as a Second Doctor companion, just in a wibbly wobbly
Not.
sense.
Yep.
But he's still a
And out of
companion
time.
in like the least traditional sense. But he also, I mean, so he meets the Second Doctor. He's there for basically all of the Third Doctor, and then
Yep.
after the Fourth Doctor leaves unit, he appears twice with the Fifth Doctor in the Fifth Doctor era, once with the Seventh, and then he's referenced being in South America a couple times during the 10th Doctor and Sarah Jane adventures. And then he's got one final on-screen appearance with Sarah Jane's crew in her spin-off.
Yep. I
And
have seen that. I've seen that scene when when she sees him again. I
then
saw it
his
on
death is
YouTube.
mentioned alongside the introduction of his daughter Kate, who kind of took over his role and his legacy with the 11th Doctor up till the present. So, depending on how you count things, he's met seven doctors on screen, if you count when he appears as the Cyberman with the 12th Doctor. Um,
Yeah, I mean the actor is unfortunately past that
no.
point, and so
And I mean, he sees the Doctor from across the cemetery. So it's not
yep.
like they even interact except for a salute, which is a big deal. But
Which was a big deal because it was able to pass on to Kate, who um, confirm who it was in a way. But
Yeah,
again, I kind of do, kind of don't count that one. I mean, he's already dead at that point. Um,
but it
and then
still just says like how big of an impact he had on the Doctor's journey from because he met the first Doctor a couple in a couple anniversary episodes, and then each Doctor along the way in the classic era, except for the sixth Doctor, he met them all. Um,
yeah, I mean,
so there's
he's got a legacy that is very impactful. I mean, this is a
yeah,
character that, like we were saying, he appears in the second Doctor era a couple times, and then he becomes this mainstay for the third Doctor's era, and then it's just kind of a more recurring role for the rest of his time, here and there, popping up. And I think that's what I think that's what they've done really well with Kate, is that she's kind of fit in that same idea of continuing that legacy of having a consistent human unit character similar to her dad, the Brigadier. So I feel like with his time with the Third Doctor, especially, he's a yay for me, because this is focused on the Third Doctor, not just Brigadier's lifetime, but more the Third Doctor. So I really like the Brigadier, and he was a good challenge to the Doctor, not a foil by any means, just a challenge.
I might call him a foil a little bit because there were some times that he had to, the Doctor has his sci-fi talk, and the
Yep,
Brigadier had to have that role, like we've discussed previously with Ian and Ben, that he had to be the voice of skepticism, to
yep,
keep the Doctor in check. So I don't know if you call
but
that a
not so much
foil
I
exactly,
wouldn't
but
call that a
it's
foil. That's why I said a challenge, because the foil would be more like the Master. I mean, that's definitely in my mind. Not a
okay.
foil
Fair
is
enough.
gonna ruin somebody's plan. The
Okay, fair
Brigadier
enough.
isn't trying to. He's not actively trying to ruin the Doctor's plans, because Brigadier trusts the Doctor a lot and is
He's just
trying to just.
over it with the Doctor.
But he also can't make sense of it because he doesn't understand the Doctor. Which, I mean, we can talk about the Brigadier and do a whole episode on him for this
Yeah,
podcast.
probably.
But I don't mind going to talking about how somebody who doesn't understand the Doctor, which is the Brigadier, we can move on to somebody who does kind of understand the Doctor, um,
I mean, I'll
even
just
early
say that
on.
there's this just moment in the Three Doctors where it's just obvious that the Brigadier's just done with all three of them. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like this is just like it's ridiculous at this point, and he's just okay. Can we be done with all this stuff that I don't understand?
Yep. The Brigadier gets to be. He's just over it all, um, and
So
that's kind of works in that aspect. Um, but we can go kind of back to the beginning with the Third Doctor and go toward his first, kind of more official companion, I guess you could say. Even though she doesn't ever travel with the Doctor, but Liz Shaw does do a lot with the Doctor for the time that she is there, in
yeah,
that
I think
seventh
Liz
season.
Shaw is the probably the only companion that's accepted as a companion, um, that never travels in the TARDIS. I mean, even with the
Yep.
Eighth Doctor, you've got Grace traveling in the TARDIS
For a little.
very, very momentarily.
Yeah.
Um, she's still more of a TARDIS companion than Liz because during the whole time with Liz, the Doctor's grounded on Earth.
I know, but I mean, I think she goes. Doesn't she go in there at some point? I can't remember for sure.
Oh yeah, she goes in and like sees his experiments with the TARDIS and everything, but
So she gets to
she's
see the bigger on the inside. She just doesn't get to
she just
take
never
it for a
travels.
ride.
Yeah.
No.
Um,
Well,
But
yeah.
yeah, we get her at the very beginning with the spearhead in space, and she never gets a proper send off. Just kind of leaves unit between seasons. Um, and of course, I have to say it's still a better send off than Dodo. Um,
Yeah. Well, you hate Dodo so much, so it
I
doesn't
really
matter.
don't. I really have a
That's
hard
really not
time with
saying
Dodo.
much.
Yeah, every companion departure is gonna be. Is it worse than Dodo?
Yep.
So, but
I don't know.
we
Is there a top end of that? Is there a best companion send off in your mind?
That's a good question.
I don't even know. Okay, well, that's a whole nother question, I guess.
Because that
So I
would
just
be like,
keep
is the
going.
Earth's like, because is it a good send off, or is it like good
I mean,
writing? Is it
send
emotional?
off.
Is it
I mean, send off, no matter what, in my mind, is just departure for the companion. So how does the companion
right?
depart?
But what would
So
define
regardless of
good? Like
send
an
off,
emotional send off, or ooh, I might be pondering
my
this one.
the first one that comes to mind as a really good departure from the TARDIS is going to be Martha.
That's who
Um,
popped into my mind as well, because like Donna and Rose are emotional and
Dawn and
well
Rose are
written,
stuck. Oh yeah,
but
but they're both stuck.
but they're well written and they're like powerful and they're good departures, but they're not chosen departures.
No, they are forced out. Same with Amy.
Yeah.
Same with Clara. And same with Bill. Yaz, not so much. So like, and even like Jamie and Zoe with the second Doctor, theirs is sad because there's a similar to Donna's where they forget the Doctor altogether. Um,
Mm.
so I mean, it has like that same kind of idea. The Doctor forgets Clara from her departure, like vaguely remembers her, but not enough. So I mean, I feel like it's really weird, but that's the one that I would say is, despite the fact, like Martha is one who's like, I went with the Doctor, but you know what? I don't know that. I mean, she's better off in some aspects because she knows a whole lot more about the universe, but she also has so much more to who she is now that she doesn't need the Doctor. She's gonna go live her life. So anyway, we
Agreed.
don't
And
have to
without going too
continue that.
much more into Martha, but I do think I like in many ways I like Martha more after she leaves the doctor than
Yep.
while she's with him.
Yeah, she's
So,
constantly in love with him until she realizes it's not worth it. So
but going back to Liz,
yes, let's go back to Liz.
there was a note that in the death of the doctor in the Sarah Jane adventures, um, they note that Liz was unable to attend the doctor's supposed funeral because she was on Unit's moon base. So there's a nice little mention that she's still kind of working for or with Unit even in the present day.
That's like 2010, 2011 time frame.
Yeah, present day being
Um,
like 10 plus years ago, but yes.
yep. Modern Who time frame.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I like about Liz is that when the very first story with Spearhead from Space, when she's working with the Doctor, she doesn't believe anything he's saying, but the Doctor says the word "if" or something along the lines. He pretty much makes a suggestion of if this is possible, then what would be the ramifications of it. I can't remember exactly what it is, but then it gets her mind to this. Well, if that, then this. Like this makes logical sense. Something the Brigadier can't ever fathom. But Liz is also very Liz is a very strong scientifically minded person, and so she is able to start making a look. You made a question. Now, if this, now I have to make a hypothesis off of it. And she's able to she kind of plays along with the Doctor until she understands. Oh, we've got walking plastic going around over here. Stupid mannequins are going to start shooting people. She deals with the Silurians and their introduction, and then uh, I don't like Ambassadors of Death. I don't want to talk about that one. And then Inferno, she's got this like alternate reality that she has to live in. Not live in, but she's got the Liz Shaw in the alternate reality and the Liz Shaw in the regular reality. So it's kind of a fun play for that. But I am sad that she doesn't get a proper goodbye. But I do think that as a character, I would have gladly seen another season with her in it.
At the same time, what was it that they said when they uh, verbally m- uh, they mentioned her departure in Joe's first episode? That like the doctor just needed someone to hand him his test tubes or something. Like, yeah, that pretty well sums it up.
Yeah, and I think that like I've read that in different articles that the actress that played Liz Shaw and one of the Fourth Doctor's companions, the first Romana, they both just felt like sidekick slash you know equal intelligence, but not at the same time. And
Yeah, which is
so,
sad because I did feel like, Liz is she's not a genius like when Zoe was matching wits with the second Doctor, but by Earth standards, she's very intelligent, and I think, was
yep,
able to put the Doctor in his place plenty of times.
yep.
So, but
But that's okay. I would have been okay with more of her. Sadly, we don't get any more. But we do move on to
so yay,
my
yay for
yay,
Liz.
yay, yay for Liz. Definitely. That sounded so wrong, but yes, I'm okay with Liz sticking around. I'm a yay on Liz.
Yep.
But then we get his next companion, and while the companion following is all-time favorite of mine, Joe Grant I think is my favorite of the Third Doctor's companions. Just she spent 3 years with him, bunch of stories, so much more.
Well, and the biggest note that I had for her character is that she didn't need to be a genius to match wits with the Doctor.
Mm-mm, no, I mean this is a younger girl who just says, I don't care. You can be as she's like an early. She's got certain aspects of Donna that we would find later on, of not needing to be a genius to match wit. Um, you've got that kind of character with Joe, and she just I love the that she pretty much just has this. Oh, by the way, I'm an escapologist. I know how to escape from handcuffs and being tied up and stuff like that. And it's consistent. Like they hold on to that for most of her time. Where oh hey, she can escape from a lot of different things. Now, not everything, but she is able to just get herself untied or help the Doctor get untied, which is really just kind of an out of nowhere thing, but something that really worked well for her character. And once again, the Doctor didn't want Joe at all when she comes on and as his assistant, basically, and is stuck. And he stuck with her, but I think he definitely loved her in the end as kind of like a granddaughter type feel with uh
Or
with the
even like
first
I thought
Doctor.
of like just as like a best friend feel. Like you compared
Yeah.
her to Donna with like not taking the Doctor's crap,
Yep.
but I think in many ways like their relationship was sweet and connected in in a similar way to the 10th Doctor and Donna, that
Yeah. I
they were
there's
just
good
good
comparisons.
together.
Yeah, there's good comparisons between the 10th Doctor and Donna, um, and then I think also between the first Doctor and Susan and the first Doctor and Vicky. I feel like there were some good
Yeah.
connections there that really
Mhm.
work with him and Joe. Like Joe single-handedly pretty much overthrows the prison riot. I mean, I honestly don't even think Donna could do that. Maybe verbally, but even then, I don't think she would cause it more than overthrow it.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Hmm.
So, but even after she left the TARDIS and left unit, um, it was nice to see her back because she did return in the Sarah Jane Adventures and with a cameo in The Power of the Doctor at the companion support group.
Yeah,
And I want to say there were that the actress didn't want to return for this or that reason over the years, but I'm glad that she did because even like in the death of the Doctor when she appears alongside Sarah Jane, it's one of my favorite Sarah Jane episodes. So I'm glad that she came back around to the series.
yeah. I mean, I think part of part of her initial departure in real life, from what I understand, is having to do with the death of Roger Delgado, who played the Master for most of her time on Doctor Who. Um, he had a tragic death after filming while filming another movie is what he was doing, and I think it was while they were filming the 10th season, and I think that just kind of hit her a little too hard, and so she left. But I know that had something, at least somewhat, something to do with it.
Well, and they
But
worked together so long for that, especially that first season that they were both around.
mm-hmm.
Like, you can't help but have that impact you.
Oh no, I mean definitely not, because I mean the Master is in, if I recall, every single story for that first
Yeah.
season,
So they spent
including
the
the
better part
Daimon.
of a year working pretty well side by side.
And then
Her,
he's in like half the season 9 episodes, or stories at least.
yeah. But I would give a yay for Joe, and as often as her actress would agree, I would have her back anytime.
Yeah, I mean I would gladly see Joe come back, kind of like how
Especially
Mel
since
came
she's
back.
already especially since she's already come back a couple times.
Yeah,
Like, let's just keep it. She's also got an expansive family, as we learned in the Sarah Jane adventures. Bring more of them along too for the
yeah.
ride. I'm all for it. However they want to bring Joe back, I'm all for it.
I mean I really honestly like Joe. I think that she was one that could have she lasted a good amount of time, and she was a really good companion for the Doctor, and so by all means, I can't not say uh, anything but yay for Joe.
Yep. All
So
right, and
now
last but not
we get to go on to the
least,
last one. It's like
yeah.
there's so few with the Third Doctor, but there's so much with the Third Doctor at the same
mm,
time.
On the last but not least, Sarah Jane Smith. I mean, we can't say enough
Mm.
about her. And I'm gonna have to force myself to limit our discussion to the third Doctor and maybe a little bit of the fourth Doctor, but we could go into her
The Tenth
spin-off
Doctor.
and her
Yeah.
experiences in her spin-off and her experiences with the modern era. And yeah, there's a
She kind of
lot.
has two spin-offs, even though one of them only lasted an episode. But we don't need to talk
Yeah.
about
Oh,
that
I
one
wasn't
too
even
much.
thinking about that, but you're right.
It
But yeah.
was a pilot attempt for another show. Um, but yeah,
Hey, but
Elizabeth Sladen.
it gave
Go ahead.
it gave the moment for her to receive her canine, which later
Yep,
appeared in the Five Doctors and School Reunion
and
and her
School Reunion.
spin-off. So it might
Yep,
have only been a one-off special because the pilot wasn't picked up, but I'll take it. It wasn't.
yep,
I've
yeah,
watched it, and we can discuss it with the Fourth Doctor era, but it wasn't
yeah, because it
a
takes place in the
groundbreaking
Fourth Doctor
story,
era.
but it was still
It
worth
was
it.
something. It was something to see Sarah Jane back. I mean, it if I recall, it's the year I was born. It was the Christmas. For those
Yeah,
that
it was
don't
a
know my
Christmas
birthday.
episode, and it was around the same time that the Doctor and Romana had a canine.
Yep,
So,
it was 4 days after the day I was born. So yeah,
happy
makes you
birthday.
feel makes you feel
Merry
very old.
Christmas.
Yeah, sure. Everything's the same.
So, but yeah,
But
we'll
so
get more into
something else
her
about
in.
I was gonna say something else about Sarah Jane that's really kind of cool is, for those that don't know, the actress Elizabeth Sladen, her middle name was Clara. That is the reason why they named Clara in later with the 11th and 12th Doctors.
I
She's
think I
named
did know that at
after
one
Elizabeth
point.
Sladen.
I
I think
like
I
that.
told you that another time.
Yeah, probably. At least at one point or another.
Yeah, it is one
Wow.
of my more favorite facts of Doctor Who, because it honored a character, um, an actress, not even the character, it honored the actress who gave so much, similar to how the Brigadier was common with Doctor Who, and a lot. Sarah Jane is the companion who on screen meets
She met
11,
seven different
7 different
doctors.
doctors. Yep.
So the most of any companion. The only one to compare was the Brigadier, if you count when he was the Cyberman Brigadier.
Yep.
If.
That's the closest. That's the closest when you. But actor-wise, that's the only actress or actor who was on screen with 7 different doctors at this time.
But I mean, I think there's a reason. I have no written down, and I fully believe that there's a reason that like Sarah Jane is like the iconic companion.
Mhm.
Um, After half a dozen companions from the past, the future, and the military, she's just an average human being with above average curiosity.
Which they also made her a journalist, so
which I
Bev
think was
actually goes really well
perfect.
with that. Yep.
And they utilized that profession in her character in the stories so well, you know,
Yeah,
even
they
more
did because
than
she was able to go everywhere that any
yeah,
normal press pass would get you, and then some. And even as a
like they
companion, like going
utilized
in. Go ahead.
I was to say they utilized Martha being a medical student a number of times and being a doctor multiple
Hmm.
times, but never to the extent did it play into the story as well as Sarah Jane being a journalist. And that's half the reason that her, or at least half the reason I would say that her spin-off was even a thing, that she would, because she's a journalist, she investigated these things even after
Yep.
she was done traveling with the doctor.
I
So,
mean that
and
the thing about Sarah Jane, like we can just keep going on and on, but with her time with the Third Doctor, which is only one season long, so again, like I said, and my mindset, I've already finished Sarah Jane in her initial time with the TARDIS, so I have to like limit my mindset there. But her introduction, she just her curiosity gets her into the TARDIS and takes her into the past. Compared to somebody else who just walks into the TARDIS and says, "I have nothing going on in my life. Oh, take me with you." Um, you know, Spencer's favorite companion of all time, of
oh,
course.
I
So
know, right?
we stated. But then she doesn't like the she doesn't understand the world she is forced into at first, and then she eventually just figures out that, oh, I am not in my time. I am also in near an alien who looks like a giant potato. Um, and so she just starts off with her curiosity being so well. She has to deal with dinosaurs and then Daleks, um, and then a bunch of different spiders, and the monster. I always want to say Peloton, but it's Peladon, and so I'm like always thinking it's an exercise bike or whatever. So, but and they go back to the Peladon, which was one of my least favorite stories. So she
But
doesn't have a
it's
great,
like
always
one of
have a
the
great story.
best lines of her being the like iconic feminist, though.
Oh, it is, and I mean it's one of those lines where I don't again I can't disagree with what she
I mean,
says
you've
to the
got three
Queen.
daughters. You've got three daughters. I've got
Yep,
two. And
yep.
to have her say, "There's nothing only about being a girl," is
Oh, not
everything.
just that. It's but it also there's an extra piece to that because of who says it. Who says I'm only a girl to Sarah Jane to begin with? Because she pretty much the person that Sarah Jane says. I'll say that in a second. She says, well, but I'm what can I do? I'm only a girl. And Sarah Jane responds with, "There's nothing only about being a girl, Your Majesty." She is speaking to the Queen, not Queen of England, Queen of Peladon or Peloton, the exercise queen, whatever she is. Um, she's saying it to royalty because she doesn't give a crap who anybody is. There's nothing only about being anybody because Sarah Jane is telling off a queen at this point. Or a princess, I can't remember which. Either way,
Um,
she just
I think
doesn't care.
Queen, but still, yeah, like
Uh-huh.
she's telling her off and building her up all at the same time.
Yep, she's reminding her of like, hey, you are you. Don't let that be anything but. And I don't want to get too much on that line because that's not really my place. But yes, being a dad of three daughters, I've actually used this line to one of my daughters and being like, look, there's nothing only about being a girl. There's nothing wrong with being a girl. There's nothing wrong with being female or male or anything in that aspect. You be you, and there's no reason why you can't do what you want to try to do. And then, she gets to be there when the Doctor regenerates, which, her and the Brigadier are there when it goes from the John Pertwee to begin the new era which will last for 7 years with Tom Baker. And, I mean, having her and the Doctor, like you were saying with Joe and the Third Doctor being best friends, Sarah Jane and the Third Doctor do become really good friends. I
And
do
even
think
more
she's a
with the
better
fourth
companion to the.
Doctor.
Yep, and so even closer to best friends, Fourth Doctor introduces her as his best friend at one point, but there's already so much trust between the two of them and such a good, strong friendship with them with the Time Warrior, Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and when she comes back for the Five Doctors, Sarah Jane is the Third Doctor's companion in that story. Because each one of the Doctors has a companion, with the exception of the fourth, since he's not really in that.
I mean, he
I mean,
has
he has
Romana,
Romana
but yeah,
too.
that's a. But I will say, her introduction in the Time Warrior, I've thought about it, and it just the kind of mirror moment of her meeting John Smith in the Time Warrior, and then her meeting John Smith in School Reunion. Wonderful. Like the introduction is just
Oh yeah.
kind of mirrored there, and the echo of the past, which oh, gotta imagine how David Tennant felt about that because he loved Elizabeth Sladen.
Yeah, I mean, I look at David Tennant when in that episode, and having him look at Elizabeth Sladen, and it just there's a part of me that every time I see that, I'm just like, you're such a fanboy, dude.
He
Like,
is,
it's so
and that's why
cool,
he
which
was
is so
such a good
cool.
doctor.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
But
really liked the way that when he
and it
introduces
and that
he's
worked
introduced to
so
Sarah
well in
Jane.
that moment because the
Hmm.
doctor in character is trying to not let on that, oh my gosh, this is my best friend and I haven't seen her in decades.
Oh yeah, he has not seen her in years because of that. I mean, we don't know the exact time in life at that point. It's not just 25 years that we have.
That's
Maybe
true
it's
for
been
the
a little
doctor. It's
more,
probably
maybe a
been
little less.
centuries.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I
from
don't.
our perspective, it's been decades, and he's still giddy, trying to
Yep.
not let on who he is and who she is and all that. And it's
Yeah. I mean,
and
it
just
just
the
there.
writing to mirror her original introduction, just wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, having her introduction be so similar between the two, having that use of what occurs during the Time Warrior. Um, and she even in that school reunion, she mentions everything she saw. Not everything, but a lot of things that she saw
Yeah, her and Rose
in her
shouting
time with
back and
her
forth at each
doctor.
other.
Yep. I mean, she talked about the dinosaurs and the Daleks and
The Loch
giant
Ness
spiders and
monster.
things. Yes. Well, that's not with. Is that with
No, that was with
the third
the
doctor? Or
fourth
of course,
Doctor
sorry.
because I just watched that
I
one.
thought.
But all the same, it's one of the things that she shouts over to Rose.
Yep, it is. And Sarah Jane, her. No, I don't want to get into her departure right now because that's not where we are. We are talking
We
about her
can and
time.
whenever the heck we
We
get to the
will.
modern era of Doctor Who, we will spend at least an episode just talking about Sarah Jane and the Sarah Jane adventures, etc. So we could
Yeah,
spend
no,
so
I
much
know.
time talking
I'm
about
not going
Sarah
to worry
Jane.
about it right now. The story that I felt like with Sarah Jane, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. It becomes her second story with the Doctor. She is coming back from the Time Warrior, and this is where I and probably a lot of other people become anti Mike Yates. She just kind of she's now falling into her pattern with the Third Doctor and trying to understand the world around her, but now it's even more than what she even remotely understood before. Um, Now that's a bigger time issue, um, and I really thought that story was a lot better than I think some people give it credit for. And I think
Yeah.
overall, Sarah Jane, especially with the Third Doctor, I'm glad she stuck around because we had a couple more years of what, for most people, she is the top companion.
Yeah.
Certainly the top companion for me for the for the classic era. Um, Jamie from the Second Doctor is my only other one that is even remotely close to Sarah Jane. Um, and so
But I think
having
there's a reason that she's the iconic companion, and I
she is.
think we'll have plenty more to say about her
Yeah,
when we get to the fourth Doctor companions as well.
yeah. I mean, she's the one that you just you. It, it is awesome that they brought her back with David Tennant. Like out of everybody to have brought back, it's like
Well,
no,
that they
this is the
brought her
right
back
person
so
they brought
many
back.
times too. Like if it hadn't been for
Yep.
her passing, she would have kept coming back, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Very very sad. lost
No.
Sarah Jane in real life there. I believe her daughter actually voices Sarah Jane in the BBC or
Big Finish.
audio. Thank you, Big Finish Productions audio stories of Doctor Who. So I mean, I think it's really cool that they've got somebody that can at least sound like her enough, but still somebody to be
Yeah.
missed.
Yep.
So by all means, I think we've talked about Sarah Jane, and like we said, we could do a whole episode on her,
And we probably will at some point.
and we will, and we have to, because I think we'd be remiss if we didn't.
But if it's any, I don't know if it has to be said at this point, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think she's a yay for both of us. Duh.
What? That is brand new
What?
information.
Brand new
Friends reference.
information. Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, we will discuss her more with the Fourth Doctor. And next time we record, we are going to be discussing the Third Doctor era as a whole. And then after that, the plan is to do an episode about, the next time we record about Doctor Who will be the Third Doctor. We're going to try to fit another one in sometime before that, recording schedules pending. But then the next Doctor Who episode after that is going to be about the 20th anniversary of modern Doctor Who. And if we do have anyone listening to us out there that wants to contribute any thoughts about the last 20 years of Doctor Who, you can find us on social media. So please reach out and let us know what you want us to discuss. Any of you, like half a dozen listeners out there. So,
I
and
mean,
that's
that
all
could
I
be
got to
like
say.
a
So,
5-hour podcast right there alone. So,
it
yep.
could. We're going to very much have to limit ourselves, but it's wibbly wobbly. We had the
However you
60th
do.
anniversary 2 years ago, and now we're having the 20th anniversary only in Doctor Who.
There you
So,
go.
unless you got anything else, go ahead and sign us off.
Nope. Thank you for listening to whomever it is that is listening. As always, alien abductions are involuntary, but probings are scheduled.
Thank you for listening to the Latter-day Saint Geeks podcast. We're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but we don't represent the church in any official capacity. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and to review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Select episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Show notes and additional content are available on our blog, latterdaysaintgeeks.com. Intro and outro music were provided by David Schriddell.